Now I look at my life and I think, well, you're pretty good at public speaking, but you know what? I recognize that as solely from God. And when people come out and they say, good sermon, and I say, it's all God, I'm not trying to be some kind of super pious spiritual person. I'm just telling you the flat-out truth. When I preach, it's God going, and I just hop in the saddle and go for a ride. I kid you not. That is exactly what's happening to me right now, and I'm getting a chill up the back of my neck just talking about it. It's God. And there are some Christians who believe that the gifts that we have are truly the representation of the presence of God. And I believe that God is present in our gifts, but I don't think you can take a gift and say, because I have this gift, God is working within me, because I believe, for instance, there are other people who are great speakers, but they're not using it to glorify God. They're not using it in a way that God has deemed appropriate. They are using it for their own purpose, their own agenda. I think of one classic individual who was an incredible speaker, could mesmerize thousands. I've seen video clips of this individual standing at a microphone and thousands growing quiet just to hear his words. Adolf Hitler. He had an incredible gift, but it was not a blessing from God. He did not use it in a way that glorified God. And the ultimate result? Incredible destruction and devastation. I believe that we, first of all, have to view our gifts and abilities and talents, our passions, as a blessing from God so that we can then understand how God wants us to use them. That leads me into my next point. The Gospel of Matthew tells us this wonderful story. And this story is about these three servants, and they're each given a talent. The talent, however, is money, but let's extrapolate that and use that as our understanding of talents this morning. Each one of them was given different amounts of talents. Each one of them was given kind of a different focus of their talent, and yet each one recognized that this was from their master. 2 out of the 3 said, therefore, since I've been given this talent by the master, I need to figure out why the master has given me this talent. And so I'm going to look at the master and the way he handles talents, and therefore I'm going to do the same thing. And the result was they did investing. That's what their master did, so they did investing. And the result, their master was pleased. The third guy, for whatever reason, said, whoa, this is really scary. This is kind of intimidating. I've been given this one talent, and I am scared to death I'm going to mess this up. I don't want to, screw things up in the process of all this. So I think the best thing that I can do is what? Bury it. I'm going to bury it. I'm going to remember where I buried it, so that at the appropriate time I can dig it back up and I can, give him back his talent and breathe a sigh of relief. Whether it was insecurity, whether it was fear, or whatever it was, this particular individual said, I'm not going to risk a thing. I'm going to bury that talent. Do you know how that parable ends up? It's one of those parables that has this joyful ending that says there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, and then we get to say the gospel of the Lord. It ends up being miserable. Miserable for the guy, miserable for the master. When the talents are not used, when they're not used in the appropriate way, when they're buried in the ground, the result is misery, frustration. I mean, the master looks at this servant and says, what in the world were you thinking? I gave this to you so that you could use it like I do, and you bury it in the ground? You gotta be kidding. Give me a break. Unbelievable. And yet I wonder how many of us even gathered this morning know we have a talent from God, and for whatever reason, we've buried it. We are called to break through that barrier and to dig up our talents and use them. Because when we do that, incredible things happen. Any of you know a guy by the name of Paul Potts? Anybody? Oh, great. I got one person, my wife. She doesn't count. I mean, she counts, but she doesn't count with this question. Boy, I'm going to need therapy after this. Paul Potts, I was introduced to on YouTube. He was a mobile phone warehouse worker in England. And you look at Paul, and he's not the most attractive guy. I mean, he's kind of short, kind of large in the middle. His teeth kind of go every which way, and his eyes cross. And he's just kind of this unassuming guy. And you look at Paul and you go, okay, wow, cellular phone guy. Yay. He had a talent that he buried. And I don't know what possessed him to bury his talent. He says that he's always had an issue of self-esteem. Always kind of not, kind of nervous about himself. But he also has this spark of inspiration that he wants to see how his talent measures. And so he gets on a game show in England called Britain's Got Talent. You'll recognize one of the judges, Simon. That's where he started what we now call American Idol. It's the American version of Britain's Got Talent. And if you know Simon, he doesn't like anybody and has the most scathing remarks about anybody's talent. I want to introduce you to Paul Potts.
The next contestant, the world of showbiz seems a million miles away.
It's Paul, a mobile phone salesman from South Wales.
By day, I sell mobile phones. My dream is to spend my life doing what I feel that I was born to do.
Paul, what are you here for today, Paul?
To sing opera. I've always wanted to sing as a career. Confidence has always been sort of like a difficult thing for me. I've always found it a little bit difficult to be completely confident in myself.
Okay, ready when you are.